Yo! This is going to be a video about my ideal world. Like, if colonialism happened again, like, what would I prefer? Like, which groups to succeed and win and conquer territories? Who would I prefer to win? If, like, let's say, you know, we're in like the colonial age, and there's a bunch of different like ethnic groups: the Russians, French, British, Japanese, Chinese, Mongolians. If this video is going to be about like my ideal world, right? Like, if colonialism happened again, like, what would I prefer? Basically, it's sort of like that, my ideal world. Like, which groups would I want to like dominate? Like the Germans or the French or the British, something like this. Like, who would I want to win? Like, and to take specific territories. What would I prefer in that regard? I'll kind of give you a quick map for. So if colonialism happened again, like my ideal world, if colonialism was a thing again, to be honest, I would like you know, like the British conquering the Americas. That's not that bad. North America being conquered by the British, not too bad. I wouldn't change that, because right, in history, like the British, you can see that British. Maybe I should switch the light on. The British. Oh shoot. My lights are fucking messed up, man. Let's give it some time. Let's see. How the fuck? Lights are messed up, man. Fucking annoying. Ooh, all stupid looking now. Let me just see if I can make this light bulb fucking stay stuck down. I look fucking stupid now. And this just looks so dumb. Hopefully it's gonna calm down. Any minute now. Anyway. Yes. So, you know, in our timeline, the British here in England, they sailed all the way to North America and they conquered this territory. To be honest, that's not a big deal for me. I actually like the fact that the British went to the Americas. The British, they went all the way to the Americas and they created the United States of America, obviously. The British did that. The British, they also went all the way to Australia and New Zealand and stuff in these types of territories around here. Yeah, the British, they basically, from there, they went all the way here and they also went all the way down to Australia and New Zealand. I'll get to like the fact that this should have not, the British should have not went here. I'll get to that in a little bit, but quite frankly, in my ideal world, if colonialism happened again, yeah, I would want the British to take North America. I would want the British to take North America. I would want the British to take North America because, you know, North America, to be honest, if the Germans went there instead of the British, or if like the Russians went there instead of the British, can you imagine like how different our world would be, right? Think about how massively different our world would be if, like, let's just say, like, instead of like the British going all the way to North America, creating the United States of America, it was like either it was like the Germans going there, or the Russians going there. That would be so, like, our world would be so fucking different. To be honest, I'm kind of glad that the British, they set sail and they went all the way to like the North America, to the United States of America. I'm kind of glad that they did that, because I don't know, the North America, if any other type of groups of people went there, our world would be kind of a lot worse, in my opinion. Definitely, for sure, our world would not be as good if anyone else but the British went to like North America and created. Because, you know, in our timeline, the British, they went to like North America and they created the United States of America. To be honest, I do prefer that. If the Germans went there, or if the Russians went there, or if the Turkish people went there, or if the Arabs went there, or if some other groups went there, or if the Chinese went there, or Mongolians went there, I think our world would be a lot worse. I'm telling you, the United States of America is kind of it does like kind of like these types of ideal, like these types of like beliefs, like about like equality and freedom and all that type of stuff, and freedom of speech, all these types of things, it does come from the United States for the most part. So, you know, to be honest, like, I wouldn't really, if my ideal world, if colonialism happened again, I would let the British continue sailing to the Americas to create the United States of America. I wouldn't not try and tamper with that, because quite frankly, like the US, imagine like if any other group of people went to the Americas and created like a different type of country, that'd be so, our world would probably would be a lot worse. I'm kind of glad that the British, they sailed all the way to the Americas and they created the United States of America. I'm kind of glad that they did that. So, you know, in my ideal world, like if colonialism happened again and I could control the events, I would not tamper with the British going to the Americas, because, you know, the United States of America is kind of like, it's very good that it happened and it was created, this type of country and stuff, because freedom and all that type of stuff, liberty, all that, you know, typically it is kind of like, it's all these types of things they do, all these beliefs and stuff like that, it does come from the US for the most part. So the British sailing to the Americas, not a big deal in my opinion. I would allow that to happen. The only thing I would change is the British sailing to Australia and New Zealand and these other types of territories around here. Australia, damn, what a fucking horrible country, Australia. At least, you know, like with America, the USA and stuff, they have like, they're unique. They have like, the English that they speak, like the American accent is kind of like its own thing. It's like a little bit easier to listen to and stuff. The Australian accent is fucking atrocious. It's horrendous to hear. Australian, it's like British English that's got more like corrupted and degraded and stuff and more retarded. Australia, this should have never happened. New Zealand, Australia. If colonialism happened again and I was controlling the events, I would not allow the British to sail to Australia and New Zealand. Australia is kind of like atrocious, the civilization. Australia, like what civilization does Australia have? Australian culture is fucking retarded to me. What, like, it's so like sad that this territory, all of this giant, this like continent and this landmass, all of that stuff was just fucking wasted. Australia is so fucking retarded. The Australian civilization is so fucking dumb. This entire like territory, all these resources, all that landmass, it was wasted, man. Because Australia, the British, a group of like British, they went all the way down there and they created Australia and New Zealand. If colonialism happened again and I could control the events, and like if in my ideal world, I would not let the British go down to Australia and New Zealand. You know, who would I prefer to go there? In my opinion, I believe that I think, yeah, why not the French should have sailed to Australia and New Zealand, and they should have called it something French, more size. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, think about that. Wouldn't it be more logical for the French, instead of the British going down to create Australia and New Zealand, this horrible mess? Wouldn't it have been better if the French, they went down here and they kind of like expanded the French civilization? Because, you know, the French civilization and culture is kind of, it's all right. I don't know. I'm not too much of a fan of it, but I mean, it is somewhat interesting. You know, like the British here, they sailed all the way to North America and they created the United States of America. The British here in England, they expanded like their English culture, British culture to some extent. Obviously, like I know American cultures, there's different dialects of English now, and they're not like British culture and American culture is there's like a lot of differences and stuff, and the way they speak English is different. But still, like the English language, when the British when they went here and they went all the way there, the English language was fucking it became like the global language now, because of the fact that the British, they sailed all the way to the Americas, created the United States of America, and the USA is so popping now, it's so powerful and has such a massive influence over the entire world. And now everyone around our planet, they're learning the English language, and English is quickly becoming the most dominant language on planet Earth. That's kind of because of the fact that the English people here, they sailed all the way to the Americas, to the USA, and they created the United States of America. I would not tamper with that. But you know, the English language, the reason the English language is like so like dominant on our planet now is because of the fact that the British, they went to the Americas, they created the USA and stuff, and now because of the fact that the USA is a thing now, that the English language is so widespread around the world, is because of the fact that the English, they went here and they created like the United States of America. You know, in that same type of way, the French, they should have went to Australia and New Zealand. They should have took this territory. The French should have took this territory, and the British, they should have took this territory. That would be so much more preferable to me. That would have been so much better. That would have been like so much more interesting to me if, like, instead of the British taking this type of territory, the French, they went down here and they took that territory for themselves. That would have been so much. That would have been so much more interesting. Australia is fucking horrendous. New Zealand horrendous. The civilization and culture and stuff like that here is just fucking atrocious. I hate Australian culture and civilization. I do not like it. It's not my cup of tea, sir. You know, just like how like the British, they went all the way to the Americas, they created USA. They expanded their own like language and civilization. The English language is now so dominant on our planet Earth. It is because of the USA. In that same type of way, the French, when they should have like took Australia and New Zealand, they should have took this territory for themselves. Would have been so much more preferable, in my opinion, if the French, they went out of like France and they came down here to Australia and New Zealand and they conquered this territory. Australia, what the fuck? The British, they fucked up with Australia. The British did well with America, but they fucked up with Australia and New Zealand. Australian, like, imagine being born in Australia. I'm fucking telling you, man. Australia is such a fucking retarded country. Their culture, civilization, the way they speak English is so fucking retarded. This should have not happened. The French, they should have conquered this territory. The French, and expanded the French language and the culture of France and stuff in here. And maybe, what would they call it if it was like French Australia? I don't know. What would the French call Australia if they conquered Australia and New Zealand? I don't know about that. But they should have took it. The French should have went here and they took that territory. The British should have went there and took that. That's like, in my ideal world, right? The British, like, they should have went to the Americas, conquered North America and took the United States for themselves. That's perfect. But the British, they should have not went to Australia and New Zealand. That was a big fuck up. Australia is just fucking atrocious. Horrible fucking civilization, culture, fucking horrible. The French, they should have took Australia and New Zealand for themselves. For sure. Okay. I'm just talking about like how the British went to the Americas and how they went to Australia and New Zealand, how the French should have took Australia and New Zealand, not the British. Okay, what else? What about the rest of the world? Obviously, you look at the Americas, right? You got North America here. What about South America, which I would include Mexico as well into South America, I don't know. Just because it's like linguistically more similar because of the Spanish language and stuff in Portuguese and whatever. South America, obviously. The Spanish Portuguese, they took South America and Mexico for themselves, and that is a fucking tragedy. That is a fucking tragedy, I'm telling you. The Spanish and Portuguese language, they would spread it all across here. The Spanish and Portuguese, they went here and they colonized these territories for themselves. That is a fucking tragedy. The Spanish and Portuguese language, obviously this is all subjective and opinions. I hate the Spanish and Portuguese language. I fucking hate the Spanish culture, civilization, the Portuguese culture, civilization. It's not my cup of tea, sir. Like the Spanish Portuguese conquering these territories was a fucking big fat tragedy to me. Okay, so who would I want to take these territories instead of the Spanish Portuguese? Who would I want to go there instead of the Spanish and Portuguese? In my opinion, this is gonna be very interesting. Like if colonialism happened again, in my ideal world, I would want the Japanese to like conquer these territories. The Japanese, East Asians, Koreans, yeah. I would want Japanese to take like all of this stuff, and maybe perhaps like the Koreans, the Japanese and South Koreans. I would want the Japanese and South Koreans to take like South America for themselves. That would have been so much more interesting in my opinion. Instead of the Spanish and Portuguese sailing to South America and stuff and taking all of that territory and spreading their language and culture there, I would have preferred the Japanese and the South Koreans to go here and spread the Japanese and Korean languages. That would have been a lot more interesting in my opinion. That's my opinion though. The fact that the Spanish and Portuguese, they took like South America for themselves, I don't know. Some people like Spanish and Portuguese. Some people are into like the Spanish culture and the Portuguese culture and civilization and stuff and language. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. If colonialism happened again, in my ideal world, I would want the Japanese and the Koreans to take South America for themselves. That would have been a lot more interesting in my opinion. Okay, so what about like Okay, so what about like what's left then? What about like Africa, the Middle East, India, and all of this stuff? And what about Europe as well? In terms of like Africa, I would want this is gonna be very interesting. You know, for North Africa, I would want like Turkey should have, like, the Ottoman Empire should have just took all of this for themselves. That's what I would have preferred, if like the Ottoman Empire, they conquered all of this for themselves. The Ottoman Empire, so like all of North Africa would be speaking Turkish. That would have been like, this is again my opinion. Obviously, if you might be like a North African guy, oh, why are you like telling me that you want other people to conquer my country? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in like a different type of world. North Africa, the territories of North Africa, that's just in my opinion. Like, it would be more interesting if like the Turkish civilization spread across North Africa. Maybe, I don't know. It would be more interesting to me. The rest of Africa, I don't know. I would want for the rest of Africa, I don't know. Actually, you know, yeah. For the rest of Africa, the Chinese should have like colonized the rest of Africa. And yeah, that's about it. And okay, so I covered like North America, how like I want the British to go here. For South America, I want like the Koreans and Japanese people to go here. And for like Australia and stuff and New Zealand, I want French people to go here. And for like North Africa, I want Turkish people to go there. And for like the rest of Africa, I want like the Chinese to go here. What about the Middle East? The Middle East. What about the Middle East? Quite frankly, like you have like Arabia, Iran and stuff. What would I want? Who would I want to like dominate this territory? I would really want the Mongolians to take all of this for themselves. Why not? The Mongol Empire. Let's get the Mongol Empire going again. Let's like remove all of these Arab countries, and let's let the Mongol Empire come back. Like, so all of this, the Middle East, I would just want the Mongolian people to like dominate this territory again. That'll be more interesting. What about like South Asia, like Pakistan, India, and stuff in these like maybe these types of countries here in Southeast Asia, like Thailand and Myanmar and blah 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 blah. What about South Asia? For South Asia, nah, South Asia's, I wouldn't really change it. Indian culture should stay there. This makes the world a lot more interesting. If Indian culture is like super dominant here, what about, yeah, Indian culture should just be all over South Asia and even Afghanistan. Like Indian culture should just be widespread here. And yeah, I wouldn't change like the fact, like if colonialism happened again, I wouldn't like, nah, India should just stay on its own. India is like very interesting and unique and special. Buddhism and all that stuff, very interesting and unique. I wouldn't change India, South Asia. The Middle East, I would let the Mongolians take all of this for themselves. Okay, what else you got now? Europe. What about the rest of Europe? Europe's kind of like, Europe, I would like, which specific ethnic group would I want to dominate Europe? I would say, perhaps, yeah, maybe the French. Yeah, the French, they should have took all of Europe for themselves. Maybe, yeah, the French should have conquered Russia as well. The French should have conquered all of this for themselves and took in like Australia and New Zealand. Yeah. I'm not really too much of a fan of like Russia, Poland, Slavic countries, Italian, Greek, Romanian, whatever, these other like European ethnicities. I'm not too much of a fan, but I do like the French. Even I'm not even like really too much into French culture or anything like that. Just out of like all of the European countries, like the only like other than England and English culture, like French culture is kind of alright to me. That's it. That's about it. I don't like any of the other types of European countries. So yeah, like if like what ethnic group would I want to dominate like Europe? It would be the French. They should just take all of this for themselves, and they should also take this and this. Indians, okay, so far, like if my ideal world, if colonialism happened again, the British should take North America, all of this for themselves. Koreans and Japanese should take like South America, all of this, the Koreans there, Japanese here maybe, I don't know. Koreans and Japanese take South America. The French take Australia and New Zealand, yep. And for Africa, the Turkish people, they colonize all of North Africa for themselves. And the Chinese, they take all of sub-Saharan Africa. For the Middle East, the Mongolians, they rebuild the Mongol Empire. And for India, Indians still stay dominant here and stuff. And Indian culture kind of stays dominant in Southeast Asia as well. Okay, so and what actually I forgot, what about Asia? What about Asia? Maybe perhaps, actually, Chinese, yeah, the Chinese, they should like conquer all of like Russia and stuff. The Chinese create like a massive Han Empire. That would have been more interesting. The Chinese should probably conquer like all these like Central Asian countries as well. And that's, yeah, that really is it. And in terms of like Europe, I believe the French should take all of these European countries for themselves. And because that's just my opinion, that's what I would prefer. What about Madagascar? Madagascar. Maybe for Madagascar. Madagascar. Maybe no. Yeah, maybe the British can take Madagascar and call it like Atlantis, because that would be more magical and special. And so far, that's about it. Let me just like recap everything. So if colonialism happened again, what would be my like ideal world? I would like prefer the British to take North America for themselves. Koreans, Japanese take South America. Turkish people take North Africa, not America. I'm being dumb with my words. Turkish people take North Africa for themselves. Chinese people, they take Sub-Saharan Africa. The British take Madagascar and call it Atlantis. The French take Australia and New Zealand. Indians, they take like Southeast Asia and South Asia for themselves. What else? The Mongolians, they take all of the Middle East and build the Mongol Empire up again. And what else? Yeah, the Chinese, they also take over like Russian territory. All of this turns into like, it becomes like the Han Empire. The Chinese, they take all of that for themselves. And what about Europe? The French, they take all of Europe for themselves. And is that about it? Yeah, I think so. I think I covered pretty much everything now. Oh fuck, I forgot about like Greenland. Maybe, Greenland. Maybe the French can take Greenland as well, I don't know. Make like a big fat French empire. I don't know. That would like be my like ideal world, I don't know. Yeah, that would be a lot more interesting in my opinion. I'll just recap everything again. You know, if colonialism happened again, my ideal world, like the British take North America. Koreans, Japanese people take South America. Turkish people take North Africa. The Chinese, they take all of Sub-Saharan Africa. The British take Madagascar, call it Atlantis. The Mongolians, they take the Middle East and build the Mongol Empire up again. Indians, they take all of South Asia and Southeast Asia. The French take Australia and New Zealand. The Chinese, they dominate like this territory and they take over the Russian Empire. The Chinese build their Han Empire over the Russian Empire and Central Asia. And the French, they rule all of Europe. The French, they just dominate Europe. They just take all these European countries for themselves. And that's like my ideal world. I hope I covered pretty much everything. Yeah, in Greenland, yeah, the French can take that as well. And these like, what about like these Southeast Asian countries? Indians, they should just spread the sun, like their South Asians should just take all of this for themselves. Is that about it? I think so. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll just give you like another recap. If colonialism happened again, this is like my ideal world. Like I would want the British to take that. The Koreans, Japanese, they can take South America for themselves and Mexico as well. Africa, Turkish people take North Africa. And the Chinese, they take Sub-Saharan Africa. The British take Madagascar. The French take Australia and New Zealand. Indians, they just dominate Southeast Asia and South Asia. The Mongolians, they build the Mongol Empire up again in the Middle East. And the Chinese, they dominate East Asia and like they take over the Russian Empire. And the French, they take over all of these European countries for themselves. And they take Greenland and these like, well, what about Iceland? Yeah, the French can have like all these like little tiny islands. The French can take that as well. Yeah, and that would be like my ideal world. Yeah, that would like be my ideal world. Obviously, I don't know. It would just be more interesting for me if like if in terms of like if colonialism happened again, that this happened, right? That the French took over all of Europe. And they took Australia and New Zealand. The British took the North Americas and stuff. Koreans, Japanese took like Mexico, South Americas. Chinese took Sub-Saharan Africa. And Turkish people, they spread their civilization in North Africa. Mongolians took Middle East. And the French take all of Europe for themselves. The Chinese take over the Russian Empire and Central Asia and all these types of territories. The Indians take South Asia and Southeast Asia. French take Australia, New Zealand. I'm kind of blabbering on. Yeah. And what about Japan? Japan can stay. Japan can stay Japanese. That's really about it. That's about it. Oh fuck! I forgot about Antarctica. Antarctica can stay uninhabited. I don't want anyone to go to Antarctica. It's so special if it's just no one there.